let's go to some of these.
Well, I want all you to read out the text because we've got so many, so we're going to have to try. So I'll just go three and whatever. And also, like I said, we're going to look. I need you to think of solutions as quick as you can. I know it may take more time, but that's important as well. Okay. Here we go. This is from Christian. The quality is near the best it's ever been. Start promoting the league and cheaper price tickets. There comes that thing about promotion, which is understandable. Yeah. No one really knows it, but that's where, as well, Channel 10 have got to take a lot of responsibility. They're supposed to be a shareholder in the game. Now, I'll give you a story. So recently we had that voice vote, right? So the Bozza being the Bozza, that's me, who people don't know. I like to look at both sides of the story and then make my... So a lot of my social media came up about that Kamal going on The Project, I think is the name of the program, on Channel 10, and he changed his mind. He said he was going to vote yes, and then he said he's going to vote no. Yeah. And so I went to watch the program just to see, because about the voice thing. But I was just watching it, and I'm thinking to myself, this is your top-rated show. At the end, would it hurt you too much at the end of your show to turn around and say, don't forget, by the way, the Australian FA Cup final's on in 2 weeks? Or like,
even to be running banners across the top of the bottom of
the impression that you're giving a lot of people is, and I'm saying this to Channel 10 straight Paramount, is that it's a burden for you. Yeah. You know, if you don't like it, okay, then say, and then move on and give it to somebody who does like it. Yeah. Come on, man. You're supposed to be an investor in the game. Yeah, go on, Brooksy, you read one.
So I mentioned it to you before, guys. So Dave Warren is awesome. And for everyone who doesn't know, he's a Sydney FC media manager.
Yes.
Spoke to him. We have a really good rapport with Ryan Grant.
Yeah.
Fletch.
I hear Grant.
Done Ryan some good interviews. I've heard him on the Global Game. I've heard him on other shows, right? So we're trying to organise this year. We'll get Ryan Grant on and we'll build his character on the run home with Joel and Fletch. He's a good dude. He goes for the Panthers. He fits really nicely with the show. But haven't heard from other teams in terms of getting people on. Like, I think a big thing that leagues needing to promote and get their stars out there is reaching out to media outlets to get them on. Yep. So it's like...
So have clubs, besides Sydney, have any clubs to basically sit there saying, here's some tickets to say, like, have you been invited, James, as an Australian superstar?
No, we're talking...
Never been invited.
A lot of sports will reach out, like NBL has, AFL, asking to be like ambassadors or come to the game, sit courtside, whatever it is. I've actually never heard, and I've never been to an A-League game. Brooksy? I've never heard from them.
Have you been offered tickets and all that here as SEN?
No. But honestly, having the past, and it's been a great experience. And that's the thing that's disappointing because, you know, having worked with you guys at Fox and seeing the potential and seeing what happened when they brought over those awesome guys, Emil Heskey, Alessandro Del Piero, Shinji Ono, like that's just New South Wales alone, right? And what it did, the crowds, and being able to go to those games, the Wanderers ACL campaign was unbelievable. I had mates that did not like A-League hitting me up to get tickets to that final against Al Hilal. Like, unbelievable. Like, people were like going, have you got 2 tickets? Can you get me 4 tickets? Can you get me 5 tickets? Yeah. And I'm like, you guys won't cross Roseville Bridge, let alone come out to Parramatta Stadium. What's going on?
So just on this TV deal with Paramount, are they doing the A-League a disservice? Is the production quality up to standard? Is the promotion of it up to standard? Is the fact that it's behind a paywall too prohibitive to the Australian public?
Well, I think the paywall thing used to come in at Fox as well. Okay, so the paywall goes towards the fact that the code needs money and so forth and this, that and the other. But there is no doubting, and again, and this comes back to transparency, so by all means, the powers that be here, this is wrong. By all means, I'll ring up right now or ring up at any time. I'll come back on here and say I apologise that it was wrong. The strong rumour I heard was this. The first year they signed this deal with 10 Paramount, they signed a deal and it was a proviso on hitting certain KPIs, which they did not hit.
Yep.
And then the second season onwards, I had to renegotiate. And basically part of the renegotiation was a lot of times it's not on the main channel. Yeah. So that is a massive issue. The technical problems that they've occurred during production as slowly but surely, I think I don't know if it's somebody, please correct me if I'm wrong, has all been fixed. Yeah. But a lot of it's still not quite up to scratch from what people expected for the 2 years.
What about talent on the
well, the talent on the air, that's a complete, that comes down to personal taste. That really does come down to personal. And a lot of those people are my ex-colleagues. So regardless of what I think, I'm reluctant to say it anyway. I will say it to their faces, but not here. The bottom line is talent is like vitamins to a good diet. Yeah. Now, the diet, this is what I'm saying to you, is the football. everyone's telling me I don't watch enough to make a real, I would say, measured comment. When I say watch enough, as much as I used to watch, every weekend, every game.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll watch maybe one game a weekend. Has continued to improve. But the league, in terms of its visibility, in terms of people talking about it, has basically disappeared. Now, people can turn around and say there's always been in this country a little bit of a set against football. No doubt about that, because people have seen it as a little bit of an outside. But I think a lot of people have taken that to a different level, as if they use it for excuse for everything. Because we've seen in the past, Sydney versus Western Sydney Wanderers, I think it was 7 years ago, opening game of the season, Accor Stadium, was at the Olympic Park Stadium. There was 60,000 people. I haven't seen 60,000 people at a normal league game in rugby league. I've seen it at AFL, but that's top.
Yeah.
Some of the ratings we used to get them on Monday. Top. I always remember somebody, I won't say the name because they're working now, saying to me towards the end of the time at Fox, some of these ratings aren't sustainable. If I showed you those ratings in comparison to what they're getting now, they would crawl across the Harbour Bridge and back to get those ratings. But that's all by the by. There are other things, okay? The biggest thing, and I told them, we had that situation where they actually boycotted 1 week because of the way they were treating fans. Your rusted on fans, I want to get everyone involved, of course. I want to get all fans involved, but the rusted on fans are your main component. They're the ones that are there through thick and thin. They're fanatics.
Yeah.
Right? They all feel as though it's been sanitized to their expense.
Yeah.
Now, there was some issues. We know that. Okay, but, it wasn't... I don't care what anyone says. It wasn't life-changing in terms of, there was some situations with the flares and all. Okay, they're illegal, no problem. But, then all of a sudden we had people trying to paint everybody with the same brush and it turned into a big mess. But that was our point of difference. People used to come from overseas. They say, what should we do in Sydney? And, well, at the time, King's Cross was going well. So I'd go to King's Cross, right?
Yeah.
And I'd go to the Harbour Bridge, go to the Opera House, go see some museums, and go to a Sydney derby and go on a march. Go on a march either with the Wanderers or go on a march with the coach. It is actually a really, really... I don't hear about that anymore.
Yeah. So I had where I sat at the Bulldogs in the members, a lot of the members there were talking to me when the Wanderers came in. They said, remember those derbies that they used to have, Bulldogs versus Parramatta, and how crazy it was and how massive? They said, that's Sydney FC and the Wanderers now. This is probably 5-6 years ago, maybe a little bit more. And they said, we go to Parramatta, then we all march to the game, we walk through the streets, there's flares. It's like what rugby league used to be. It's amazing. And now they've all slowly kind of fallen away from that. They said, it's not really the same. We're not doing the same things. It's a bit more, like you said, sanitized.
Yeah.
And that was the appeal for those guys, was that, hey, this has got a bit more freedom now than rugby league, where it's a bit of a nanny state over at rugby league now. So we've gone to A-League and they found a place. But now that A-League's clamped down, they've found themselves left out again.
And you know what? I took note of the comments that the new independent chairman, like I said, Steve Conroy, he's a really good man. And I believe that given time, he will get it right. Talked about bringing families to the game. Of course you want families to the game. But part of the attraction was having the hardcore supporters, and hardcore does them a disservice because people hear hardcore, they think trouble's not.
Yeah.
They're just passionate supporters. They love their sport. To read out there's another issue as well. And again, please, somebody from the powers that be, ring me and say, and I'll apologise if I'm wrong. Have you heard of an app called Keep Up?
I have not.
Brooksy?
I have heard of it.
Yeah. Marky, tell the truth, have you heard of it?
Right?
Yeah. All right. So supposedly, I remember actually doing a story for it when it first started, when, the new league and this, that, and the other. So this app is supposedly like a one-stop place for football to get your things and this, that, and the other, the stories and this, that, and the other. Now, I've heard it from good authority that the app itself, and I want this, they talked about transparency when they come in, to replace the old regime, basically. When I say they, I mean APL. They talk about transparency, and they did do. I've heard that they spent in the region between 25 and 44 million on this app. When I say that figure, I mean on all the costs involved. And I want to say from the part of transparency, number one, is this true? And number two, how do you justify that? Because like I just asked you, I'm a football fanatic, but I don't wake up in the morning and think Keep Up.
Yeah.
I just want to know, is that true? Because I'm not being funny. If it is true, don't you think that may have been better served to, growing the game at the moment where it is, the growth style. Like, rather than sort of saying I want a new license, maybe just put it into the clubs that you've got to help them improve. I'm staggered about that. I mean, I really am staggered about that. Okay, read some more of the tweets. Come on, read some more of the tweets out.
One of the other things, and it keeps coming through in all our tweets and text buzzers, is this thing about star players.
Right.
So a lot of people...
Comes down to money.
What piqued their interest? I mean, Del Piero got me really excited back in the day, right?
That was the halcyon days.
That was huge. Could Football Australia, if they're cashed up at the moment, help out with like a star player signing clause, or can we have salary cap exemptions? How do we get star players?
We have marquees, and that's coming. All right, well, that's actually going towards now what we're going to go towards the solutions.
Yes.
So one of the solutions has got to be, there was a massive schism that appeared between the Premier League, like the Australian A leagues, the Australian Premier League, whatever you want to call it, and the FA during the Civil War, so to speak, way back when. They've got to still kiss and yet to really, in my opinion, from looking at it from the outside, fully kissed and made up. They've got to.
Yeah.
They've got to, for their own sake, they've got to. The Football Australia now, as it's called, has got the infrastructure. Like you said, they've done really well in terms of the money that they've made, obviously, in terms of from where they first started, when they first come. And you saw the type of show that they, alongside of FIFA, put on for the World Cup.
Yeah.
For them to go forward, the APL, that's the A-leagues and the women's league as well. In my opinion, they've got to re-hold hands with them sooner rather than later. Swallow their pride. No problem. You've done what you've done. You said you want to go independent and all that. It really hasn't worked out, and it doesn't look as though it's going to work out. No problem to step back and go, okay, look, listen, we need help right here, because right this moment in time, they do. It's quite evident from every type of angle. And then people are texting in and tweeting into me and say, speak about the football. I love to speak about the football. But right now, there are things surrounding it that if they're not fixed, in my opinion, very, very soon, then they've got to basically staring down, real disaster.
So this one came in, Bozza.
Yeah.
Saw it. This guy was ready for your tweet because he screenshotted a graphic from the old Fox Sports days. It's called Bozza's expansion plan.
Okay.
Right.
So he's got, this is top.
We know what sort of year would this be?
19. I don't know. By the graphics package, I'm saying it looks like it's on, it might be a Bill and Boz graphic.
Yeah, I was thinking
looks like Fox Sports News. Yeah. It's gone. Remember this from years ago. So basically, he's gone 16-team A-League, second division, first 3 seasons playoff. So that basically just to get the
last
league
in the
going,
and
right?
First in
the second division.
Yeah, so playoffs at home and away. Yeah.
After that, once it's well and truly established, 2 up, 2 down.
Yep.
International breaks, transfer fees, loan system, and salary cap binned.
Yep.
Is that
stands true?
How many teams would you have in the second division? So 16 in the top.
What they can afford. Let's be realistic, and there's no problem. In terms of financial, I'll say this openly to everyone. I've been at the top of the top financially and close to the bottom of the bottom. Okay, so there's no problem in feeling shame either way. Some people feel guilty for being really successful. Some people feel shame when they're not. So don't worry about that. It doesn't take away from the type of people or the person that you are. Okay? Yep. Right this moment in time, the second division will depend in terms of how many teams will be there in terms of the money that's available. The other thing that a lot of the second division clubs are saying to me is that they would like a little bit more time to start. But it seems as though that Football Australia determined to start it a little bit. But that's okay. That can be all worked out if the will and the determination is there. Okay? But there's an issue. And the issue is that a lot of these licenses have been sold to these O-League clubs on the back of the fact that they cannot be relegated before, I think it's something like 2030 or 2032. Wow. But that's when, in my opinion, Football Australia need to go to FIFA and say, look, listen, because it's in FIFA statutes that you have to have promotion relegation eventually. You can't keep putting it off. We got special dispensation for some time, as America have had, but you can't keep putting it off. This is when they got to go to FIFA and say, look, listen, we've got to work together all here together and to sort of work, because, it's, in my opinion, it's going to be the game's saviour. Because, another thing I heard today was a lot of supporters that don't go, they're just waiting for a second division because they're going to go start supporting all their local clubs. Coming back to what I said to you, how important, and you've said it too, Brooksy, to keep things local. So if a big guy comes in, no problem to invest in a club, sure. But employ the local people that know the system, that know the people that are going to get on board of everything. Australia's very much like that anyway, as is every country is. You know, if I know that, I know you really well, Brooksy, right? So I know that you're investing in a club. I'll tell you, look, listen, you're investing in a club, but you're investing in the West of Sydney. So I got to put certain people in these positions in the West of Sydney to get everybody on board, or else they'll think you're just an outsider. That's just the way it is. It's quite simple. Keep reading out these tweets, Aris. It's important that everyone, yeah?
Yeah, so administrators don't listen to loyal fans and refuse to implement the model that has made football a success across the world. Instead, they keep chasing ghosts, casuals and Euro snobs with sugar hits.
Right, well, we need the ghosts, but I hear what he's saying. So solution time, that's going to come to either the new CEO or Stephen Conroy and Nick Garcia going face-to-face with these fans and listening to the things that they've told me today, okay? It really, really is important, yeah? Yep. So that's a solution. And you know what? The biggest solution to that, because they've told me before, we've had them all before, get us on side and done nothing. Action it. Action it. You know, like I know about you, James, but I know a lot of people who are great at like writing things out. Okay, done. Right. Okay, right.
Yeah, yeah.
Then when it comes to executing, I'm like,
there's a lot of talkers out there.
Well, there are.
Yeah.
And you know what? And there's no shame as well to say to somebody, I can't actually do this for you. All right? I will try, but I can't actually do this for you. Well, we'll go and get someone else. If you've got the will, you'll overcome it. Okay? So that's come back. Come on, keep reading them out.
I got one. This is just me, Bozza, but I feel there's a lot of criticism here on your timeline, but I want you to tell us and the listener, like, what are the good things that the A-League are doing? What are the good things that they're doing at this level that they can build on? Because it's all well and good to change things as well, but they've got to really strengthen the good things about the league 100%. Too, because if they lose sight of that, then that goes. So what's some of the things
there's no sugarcoating this. There's a reason why the vast majority that have come texting in here and on my timeline have been negative, because there is a negative. And the thing, like I said, that really concerned me is a lot of people within the game are scared to say anything because they're scared of their jobs. And I understand that. I really understand that. And this is where the culture needs to change completely, because people are not saying things because they want to do. And this is actually permeated into a lot of forms of society. People think just because somebody's got a different point of view that they just want the whole thing to collapse. No. You know, I might have a different point of view, Brooksy, to you politically in Australia, but we still love Australia. I might have a different view to you, James, in terms of the way rugby league's run, but we still love rugby league. Yep. I've got a lot of different views to a lot of different people in football, but I still love football, or else I wouldn't be here talking about it right now. Okay? So some of the good things you have to say, right? Apparently Sydney FC for the first time has 20,000 members. Melbourne Victory got 20,000 members. Apparently, the women's competition had record crowds on their opening weekend. Yeah. The Standard. So these are the things. The Standard, apparently, I haven't watched it enough to make a really big judgment like I could on any European league pretty much, and especially on the European competitions. I watch them all the time. And before people say, why aren't you watching the Bozzas? Because I watch between 8 and 10 games a weekend from overseas to make sure I'm bang on when I go on to Stan Sports to do European competitions. That's the only, if I can fit it in, I will. But I challenge anyone with 2 kids to watch 8 to 10 games and then to watch another one when, you know, like I said, it's nigh impossible. But I've got it from very good sources. The coaching standards are good. The players are good. The fans in general are a point of difference, who once again feel as though that they've been shelved to the side. When I've told them millions of times, fans can do without football if they have to, but football cannot do without its fans. And that goes worldwide. So that's what they've got to concentrate on. Get out amongst those fans. Listen to these problems. Action upon it. Provide the right environment for the players. Sorry, I'm pointing the stump at you. No kickoffs in the summer before 5:30. You know, I listened to somebody at the A-League launch, and I don't mean this disparaging towards, I won't even say his name, but he talked about, these internet users we have. What does that mean? Like, define exactly what you are, who you are, what you want to be. Go to see Channel 10 Paramount and say, listen, is this working for you? Because it doesn't seem as though that you want us. Put it onto them. They're supposed to be a partner in the game. They're not doing it justice at this moment in time.
All right, we've come up with some solutions, but there's a lot of problems still to come on today's show. Dean Watling and Sean Omerod, you're on the run home with Missile, and that was Bozza talking all things A-League.